Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. And today we're going to be talking about Shostakovich's Leningrad Symphony. Oh, yes, the Leningrad. You know, for a piece as sort of stubborn and difficult to pull off as the Leningrad Symphony, it's gotten so many recordings, and many of them are pretty good. They really are. But only a very, very few are extraordinary. And this one is extraordinary. It's, you ready? Neeme Järvi with the Royal Scottish National Orchestra, which in those days was just the Scottish National Orchestra, on Chandos. This has a lot going for it. It really does. First of all, he gets through the whole symphony in 69 minutes. I know many of you were probably thinking the one I would pick would be Leonard Bernstein's Chicago recording on Deutsche Grammophon. Now, that's the reference recording for the work. I personally believe it must be. But there are other fine performances. And this is just as good, in my view, only in a completely different way, because where Bernstein is all grandeur and weight and in implacable, doom-filled, huge climaxes and whatnot, this is energy and propulsion. 69 minutes for this symphony. I mean, it's really extraordinary, especially the first movement, because the first movement can really hang fire. It really does. The problem with the first movement is not the German invasion music, you know, with the snare drum doing the bolero build-up and all of that stuff. That takes care of itself. That's just fun to listen to. It's not a problem. And then the huge battle afterwards. The problem is leading up to it and ending it, because you've got the introduction, where things are sort of peaceful and quiet, and Shostakovich establishes this mood of tranquility before the military buildup in the central section, and that's got to keep moving. And it's hard, you know. It's da 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 ya da 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 ba ba da 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 da. It's like, oh God, when is something gonna happen? And then, of course, there's the recapitulation, where you've got that same stuff. And that also tends to go on forever. The coda, the whole thing is endless. So, you know, this is a performance that understands that. I mean, Bernstein understood it too, in a different way in his performance. But Järvi understands, in this case, that you got to keep it moving. You got to keep it fresh. You have to just not let the tempo sag to the point where you have large passages of immobility. Then you've got, you know, the scherzo, and the scherzo is another one of those pieces that it's beautiful. The thematic material is wonderful. It has a zippy middle section, but after the middle section, you know, you got dum ba-da-da-dum bum ba-dum ba-dum ba-da-da-dum bum ba-dum ba-da. And that can drone on endlessly too. So that needs to have some propulsion and energy and liveliness. The adagio is a beautiful movement, and another one where it just repeats itself in steady diminuendo after the central climax. You know, the forms of this piece are kind of the same. The first three movements actually are all similar. I mean, one is technically sonata form, or maybe two of them are. It doesn't matter. What it is soft opening, big climax in the middle, long drawn-out soft coda. 1, 2, 3. 3 times in a row. And they've got to be differentiated, and they've got to sustain their interest, and it's a job. It's really a job. It's really, really hard to do that. Shostakovich doesn't make it easy. It's great music. It's wonderful music, but it requires a great deal of assistance from the interpreters. The finale is actually the easiest movement to do. It really is, because it just, you know, it's going to have the opening come back at like a big bombastic conclusion, and it's simply a big crescendo. It starts out slowly, and then it builds up in energy, and it gets going, and again, a big climax, and it settles down to the long, slow, drawn out coda. Except in this case, the coda isn't quiet; it's huge. It gets bigger and louder and bigger. So that takes care of itself. It really does. But here, again, Järvi does not drag it out. He keeps it moving. I mean, he really keeps it moving. At the end, it's jump, bum, ba 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 ba, da 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 da, da 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 da, ba ba ba, crash, da da da. You know, it doesn't just sit there going da 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 da, wah. It's a bit like, the end of Bruckner's Fifth Symphony. I was just talking about, where you've got to have the stamina at the end. And if you don't, you're in real trouble. Well, they have the stamina at the end, partly because Järvi keeps pushing them. And that keeps the energy going. It doesn't sound like they're out of breath and they're ready to die. And the Chandos recording is stunning. The sonics are fabulous. And that's a huge help. It really is, because the piece has to open up and have this sort of expansive, pulverizing, dynamic range and power. It's a much better recording sonically than the Bernstein. It really is. So yeah, I mean, look, it has a 3-star Penguin Guide sticker. I mean, what more could you ask for, right? Really, it's marvelous. First-class performance of a thrilling symphony when it's done right. And here, it's done right. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.